Hi, I'm Victor Indrizzo, session drummer, also play with Atlantis Band. I am here on National Drum League.
Victor, tell us about your beginning in drums and how you got involved in not only drumming, but also other instruments, and then also, of course, engineering as well.
It started as a small child. I got my first drum at a year old, and I was just obsessed. I always wanted to play drums. And really, for the longest time, it was just playing on pillows to records and just dreaming of being able to play drums. I grew up pretty poor, so I didn't really get a drum set. Probably, I got like a weird Olympic kit, pieces of it. I think in sixth grade was my first one, and no training, just playing along to records.
Mm-hmm.
And my dream was always to be in a band, right? I think that's what you do. You start out, you're playing, and I never thought that I could be a studio guy. I just never thought that I was going to be good enough, to tell you the truth. And for me, first, I was always in bands, and it was always about being in a band. But I was thinking about this, that one of the most important things in life really is the ability to pivot, right? So I think when I was 18, I was in a band and we got signed, made a record, and then that didn't work out. And then I was in a series of bands. I was in this punk rock band, Sam I Am, and we got signed. And at each thing, when things didn't work out, there would be other people who would be like, that's it. There was my shot. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I knew I had to play drums. I just had to play music. And it's like, this can't be it. It can't be over. So through a bunch of series of bands starting out that way, I just kept going. And whenever life, handed me a different fork in the road, I just kept going. I was like, I have to figure this out. And slowly but surely, through all my experiences with playing so many different kinds of music, and something I learned very early on was like to be able to play to a click track. And so my ability to do that, and then also to play probably a lot of different styles, kind of all of a sudden I started recording. And first it starts out, you're making demos, and then an engineer remembers you and says, hey, you'd be good for this. And then so on and so on. It just keeps rolling on. And now, I do tour. I've toured with Atlantis Band for 13, 14 years now, but she doesn't really tour all that often, though. This year we were supposed to have a big tour. This was going to be a big year.
I do remember seeing that, yeah.
Yeah. But again, the ability to pivot. I had a great studio that we lost in December because the building got sold. And at the time, it seemed crushing. And now it seems like a great relief, because if I would have had to pay the rent on that place, it would have been devastating. And so I made my garage into a studio, and I've been able to work from home. It's kind of been amazing and empowering, like learning to engineer again. And that's another thing. I always was trying to pay attention to what was going on, how to mic things, how to get different kinds of sounds. And so here I am in my garage, and I'm set up, and I've been already working from home, and I've actually had a lot of fun doing it.
With your different experiences, can you tell me like one or two just kind of an amazing experience, say with a solo artist or being a part of a band that's just really made an impact on you, either early on in your career or even later?
Well, there's been a bunch, really. I've been very lucky. I would say early on, I was very lucky to meet Scott Weiland. He was very, very cool and very instrumental in my career in a lot of ways. I got to make a record with him where I got to play a lot of different instruments. And growing up, drums was always my main thing, still is, but I started, wanting to learn how to play guitar, bass, or piano a little bit. And he really let me do all of those things. We made a record where he let me play so many different instruments. And from there, I met Daniel Lenoir, and and then started doing work with him. And I did a Willie Nelson record with him. And from that, then other people started calling me. Chris Cornell called me because of that record. And that's just the way things kind of happen. There's so many different moments that happen. I've had kind of a long career, but really with him, it was pretty great that he kind of took that chance with me, and I got to do all of that stuff. And now playing with Atlantis for so many years, it's something that I just always feel super grateful for. And I've been thinking a lot about lately is like how amazing that's going to feel to go and play live again, and how emotional that's going to feel, just because live and recording are such very different beasts, but having that kind of interaction with people again is going to be pretty special.
You talked about Scott, and obviously we lost him a few years back, and he had a lot of different demons and kind of ups and downs as well too. Can you tell us about just kind of the person he was?
Yeah, he was a sweet person, and he loved music, and we both had that same kind of passion, and he was truly a music fan. He loved music, breathed music. It was like he was all about it. And I first met him because he liked this band that I was in, the first band I was in, this band Red Cross, and that's kind of how we became friends. But he was just a fan. He was always listening to new things, wanting to try new ideas, and he was truly an artist. He really wanted to like push the boundaries of things, and it just makes me so sad that like I really feel like drugs just got in the way of so much. And yeah, I would have loved to have seen what his life could have been like had he gotten clean and really just made the art that he wanted to make. Mm-hmm. But he was a sweet guy.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And then now, what are you doing creatively?
Primarily what I do now is it's really just play on a lot of records. And even now I'm working on stuff in Nashville. People are sending me files, and I do stuff and send it back. I write occasionally. I don't have as much time as I used to. So it's really been a lot of records. And during this time, these past couple months, Atlantis has kept us really busy. We've been making these like at-home videos. Mm-hmm. So I've been recording that and then putting all the video together, which has really been a sanity saver. Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. But I'm always open to different things. And there's sometimes I help out with my son's band. I co-produced like his first two things and play on stuff for him. But yeah, primarily it's always different artists and different genres every day, which that's what I really like. Is I think that was the hard thing for me when I was younger and I would be in a band. It would be kind of one lane.
Sure.
And I was always interested in so many different kinds of things that now every time I get a session or do something, it's something completely different. And I really love that.
Can you talk about what it means to you to be in Atlantis Band and with the other great musicians that are all surrounding you?
Yeah, this lineup now has been together quite a while, and it's a very unique scenario where we actually all hang out. And even so much as after a show, we go into her dressing room and we sit and we will have these conversations either about the show or life, you name it. Any subject is open, and we'll stay in there sometimes so long that actually the people at the venue start getting pissed because they want to go home.
Want to clean up, yeah.
We genuinely actually enjoy each other's company, and that feels amazing, especially being, I would say the median age in her band is like 40 to 50, right? So it's like we all have families, everybody's got kids. And so to have an environment that really feels like a family when you're away from your family is really, it's pretty amazing. And there's not even a day when we're on tour that we don't all hang out, even on off days, which is pretty rare. Like usually I was on one tour early on where I think I was in my 20s, and there was like a tour manager, I just did not like this guy. We just did not mix, and so much so that I didn't even want my suitcase next to his suitcase. There's nothing like that. Like, this is really like genuinely like feels like a family, which is pretty amazing.
That's awesome. And then what are your plans for the future? Has Atlantis's tour been reset, and what other things are going on?
Well, right now, as far as we know, next summer.
Okay.
But I think it all just kind of remains to be seen what's going on. But I know hopefully sooner or later we'll get out there. And in the meantime, I've been keeping super busy. Like, I'm surprised how busy. Just the ability to have this at home is pretty incredible. And also, I've been very fortunate that, like, I have a lot of engineer friends. So when I got all my mics up and everything running, I was able to send them files and go, hey, what's going on here? What should I change? What should I move? How should I EQ this? And it's really, that in and of itself is huge, because I definitely, in my mind, I want to have a certain standard. I don't want to just send files out that don't sound good.
Sure.
It's got to sound great, or I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
really, I foresee, I did go out. I had a session last week at Sunset Sound, and it was just engineer and assistant, a producer, engineer, assistant, and myself. So I don't know if there's going to be more of that starting up again, or it's kind of a funny time where it's like, who knows what the future brings. But having this and being able to just walk to the garage and like do tracks, and then it's been an amazing thing.
What is one thing about your drumming that you attribute your success?
I would say it's certainly not because I'm a guy that's fancy or has a lot of chops. It's certainly not that. I would say, if anything, my strong suit would be that I play with a lot of heart. And I feel like the one thing that doesn't get talked about often enough is that it's you have to feel the song, right? Like, when you put on a record and you love that record, it's because it gives you some kind of vibe. It makes you feel something, right? All your favorite records, it creates this emotion that you can feel. And to me, that's the most important part, is if I can get into whatever song I'm playing, find the emotion of it and express that, I feel like that comes through. Maybe it doesn't, but to me, every record I've ever heard is like, in the first couple notes, I feel something. And that's always what I want to do. I want to put that kind of feeling into stuff. I just feel like that makes a difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. And obviously, if you have producers one after another contacting you, and someone hears one record and hears the next one, then you're onto something, and the other people are really feeling what you're feeling as well, too, because they want to keep that going with future projects. So.
Yeah, and I do think, in talking about that same thing, I think the thing is to look at music like communicating. And so much so, even when I'm recording, in my headphones, I don't have the drums loud at all. Matter of fact, I have them quite low, because I want to hear what's going on and I want to react to what's going on. If I'm only listening to myself, then I'm not having the conversation. Then I'm only thinking about, oh, what's the next thing I'm going to say? But for me, music is very reactionary. And so hopefully that's like, each thing that I do, I can get what the songwriter or the artist is intending and then try to express that emotion. And now that can become tricky sometimes too, if you're playing on something that you don't like, or you think is, like, man, this song is silly, right? But in those moments, the same thing, you have to put yourself in that person's shoes, and then try and see where they're coming from, and then try your best to express that.
Mm-hmm. So does that happen with actual like dialogue with the artists to really get what they're wanting, or?
Sometimes I think if it's not clear to me, like, especially if I'm doing something that's in another language, but even then, it's kind of amazing that you can hear a song and not even be in the same, the lyrics are in a different language, but what's going on.
Sure, you know the emotion and
yeah, you know the emotion, right? And that's the thing. The first couple bars, like, oh, I know what this is. This is either, is this angry? Is this sad? Is this loving? Is it whatever that might be? But I really think that, I mean, clearly you have to be able to execute, right? You have to play to a click. You have to hit consistently. But beyond that, then it becomes about the song. If I go to a session, I'm playing something, all of a sudden I whip out some fancy fill that is not a part of that emotion, that it just doesn't belong there, then they're not going to call you back.
well, I see you're at your kit there. You got drums behind you. If someone said you have to get rid of everything except one item, what would you save in there?
For me, it would have to, there's 2 snare drums in my life, right?
Okay.
And one is actually one that Daniel made me,
Oh, okay.
which is an Orange County bell brass.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that 90% of the time, on 90% of the things that I do, it's that snare drum.
Okay.
And the other one that I can't live without now is this Gretsch broadcaster snare that just came out, and it's really it's a different beast, but it does so many different things. I like drums that that you can use for more than one thing.
Sure.
Right? And quickly, because that, in my experience in the studio, I don't want to go digging through snares, or like a lot of guys, they'll bring 100 snares. It's the snare.
Mm-hmm.
But then the producer might go, oh no, can you do this or do that? I don't want to go fishing. I want a drum that's going to do 100 different things.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those 2 drums I found hold a bazillion different tunings. Depending how I treat them, have a totally different character. And I'm a big bell brass guy. I'm a fan of those drums because any application, anything, high and wide open, greatest rock snare ever, low and some schmutz on it, it's the fattest, greatest thing,
Yeah.
And really, you and Daniel, you guys made me great drums that were that I still use.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, actually, I've been playing some with some bands locally. I'm out in the Dallas DFW area now, and we played this rock club with my old OCDP 24, 12, 16. And after the show, the guy came up to me and was like, dude, that's the best drums that I've ever heard in here. And he's seeing, 5 bands a night for 5 nights a week. And it's like, thank you very much. I appreciate that. When you have a good quality product, it's crazy to think that those were made 20 years ago or 25 years ago.
I know. No, there's something again about that, just like people putting their heart into making something, right? And that's the two companies for me would be, OCDP and then Gretsch. I still love the stuff that they're making. It's that same thing. A lot of love goes into it. And if you just tell they stand the test of time.
Is there a drum beat or 2 or an exercise that you would recommend for a young player to work on to make sure that he's rock solid?
Yeah, there's a great song. It's funny when guys come to me and talk to me and they want to play and they want to be a studio guy or even a live guy. There's one song in particular, and it's funny, I listen to this song almost every day, because when we're first starting out, we're trying to play a lot of things. We're generally playing pretty fast or trying to play complex. But there's a song by Donny Hathaway called I Love You More Than You'll Ever Know. And there's a live version of it. You can look it up. It's on everything. But it's so slow, mm-hmm. and it's so sparse, and it's all about groove. And if you can play along to that and make that feel good, you're going to win, because it's really difficult to play slow. Mm-hmm. And make it feel good. Right. So to me, that would be the thing I would say to work on it, is learn how to play slow and with a lot of space. Mm-hmm. And generally my rule of thumb for sessions is regarding fills and stuff like that is simple, and don't play more than unless somebody asks you to. Mm-hmm. Because I suppose it would be genre specific, right? There are some songs that would call for it, right?
Sure.
But but generally I would say leave the space, you know,
Uh-huh.
make sure you can groove.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you out on the road. Hopefully next summer, because we'll have a
Yeah.
blockbuster tour going through. And
Yeah, we'll have to get together. I would love to grab a coffee with you.
that sounds great. All right. Well, thank you for your time. And yes, we wish you the best.
Thanks, you too, man.